my name is Diane Schmidt, like he said. Live in Morton County. And I've been part of the farmers market for the last 30 plus years. So I do Mandan Farmers Market on Saturdays and do Bismarck Farmers Market with my partner, Roberta Thorson, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And today my demonstration is going to be on sauerkraut. So what I'm going to do is, of course, you start out with the cabbage and fresh cabbage. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about cabbage. You want the most solid heads you can get. The more solid, the better sauerkraut it will make. If you have leaf cabbage, it's tend to be moldy in the inside. So flathead cabbage is probably the best kind of cabbage to make for sauerkraut. That's what they recommend, but it's so late. So I use Copenhagen and Golden Acres. So I've made sauerkraut twice already this year. So what we do is we start out with a head of cabbage. You take the outer leaves off, just like this. Cut it in fourths. We also core it, and the reason for taking the core out is because it's I think, it's tart or kind of bitter. So I do have some already shredded. Years ago when we would make sauerkraut, my mother and my grandmother that made it, they would use this. What do you call it? The shredder. It was a wooden shredder with a blade on it, and you'd put it over tubs and we would shred it. So I've done this with my grandmother, I've done this with my mother. So, but now there again, modern days, we've gotten a little bit better at it, so we use the Ninja. That's what I use anyway. So I've cut the core out and shredded it. Which, of course, I don't want to get my fingers in this. So when this is about 3/4 full, I've got two size crocks here. This is a 1 gallon crock, and this is right here is a 5 gallon crock, and I always make my sauerkraut in a crock, always. And my husband most of the time with it, but he's not here today because he's out of town. So we shred it. Take this out. We'll dump it in here. So I'm just making a smaller one. And then the trick to get this to is to get it to juice. And the only way you can get cabbage to juice with the fermentation you want to get is to add pickling salt. That's the only thing you can add actually, is pickling salt, not regular salt. So I would say on an average, this size crock, which is a 5 gallon crock, I use a 1 cup. 1 cup of salt to that, but every cabbage is different. Some of them are sweeter and some of them are a little tartar. I do have brochures here from the county agents on how to make sauerkraut, so it really is comparable on how I really need to, it really follows the way I basically do it. So what I would do is I would add this salt, and I probably should have Sue up here tamping it. And the more you tamp it, so this crock right here that I use, so I would put about probably about 3 of these, and I would put it in here, and then I would put about 1.5 tablespoons of salt in that, and then start tamping it. And now you guys are going to want to know, what's this? Well, it's a kid's bat.
I'll use that for Mark.
Yeah. It's a kid's bad. And my mom and my grandmother, when we used to do it, we had a wooden dowel. But after years of use, it cracked, so there was a lot of bacteria in that. So we decided we had to find something with a big end on it. And of course, these are dirty. So what we do is we cover it with Menards bags and tape it on. So you just simply tamp it as you get your cabbage in. And the more you tamp it, the more juice you're going to get. The more juice you're going to get in there. So we put like, we said about, it takes, for this crock, it takes about 30 to 35 pounds of shredded cabbage. And it's up to about here when we're done. But what happens while you're doing it is it juices. It juices and that juice comes over the side. When you're done with it, you want to put it in a cool place, never in a warm place, because I can guarantee it's going to mold. You'll have molding going on with it. So I have made a lot of sauerkraut. We make it at least 7 times a year. I sell a lot of sauerkraut. And it takes about 2 weeks. After about 10 days, I try it. So after this is all full, and she's still tamping it, we'll let her work.
Do I need to add more salt? I took this cabbage.
Yep. And I want everybody to kind of look at it when we're done. After we've gotten it all done and it's up to about here, I take a bag, whatever I did with it, take this out, of course, put this bag over it. It works really awesome for this. And you got to keep it sealed. Then I put the bag over the top of it like this, and it will flip down there. Put a rubber band around this, and then take this, and you got to have a weight to keep it sealed. And then this is just about this much bigger, smaller. You lay that on top with a gallon jug of water to keep the weight down, and the weight is what seals it. And about, after 10 days, I check it to see how sour it is, and everybody wants it a little bit different as far as being soured. And then I put it downstairs and leave it for 10 days and check it, and a lot of times it's boiled over or fermented over, and the juice is caught in this tub. And after the 10 days, after the 14 days are over and done, then I take it out, I bring it upstairs and put it in jars. And and then I put it in jars. So I use a funnel, put this cabbage in here, and it will look pretty dark, just as like it is here. You fill it up to here, to this 1/2 inch from the rim here. And I boil my lids then, clean the top of my jar off, boil my lids, put it on, and then I put it in a hot water bath and boil it for 20 minutes. And after those 20 minutes are up, then I take it out and set it on the counter, and it's ready and it's sealed.
So if you were going to do this in a smaller amount, this crock, do you have kind of like how many pounds of cabbage there is to salt ratio for like this much kraut?
That's 1 gallon, so it would take about 1/4 of a cup, a little bit less than 1/4 of a cup for a ratio for this.
Sure not everybody does 30 gallons of kraut like
It's because this much here, this 5-gallon crock makes about 27 to 31 jars. It kind of depends, pints that is. And most people don't want to make that much. They want to make it smaller. And the reason I have this size crock is my mother, who is 96, still loves sauerkraut, still alive, and she likes caraway seed in hers. And that's another way of making it. But I don't want to spoil my whole crock with caraway seed. So I make her own. Any questions?
How am I doing?
You're good.
You know, on those, we used to take the youngest child, clean the feet, and throw them in the crock to do this.
Yes. It usually takes us a good hour. My husband and I, just for that big one, it takes a good hour. You know,
Crap out of it.
and you want about a lot of juice. You want liquid, so we're gonna.
I don't have a lot of juice yet. What am I doing wrong here?
Use the bat.
It is changing color and everything.
Yeah, as you tamp it, it will turn more of a whitish color. Yeah. So don't break the table.
I know, I'm worried about the table more than I am about the sauerkraut here.
Any other questions? Yes. It would wilt itself, but you know you're more tend mold in it also because you want to get as much air out of it as you possibly can. And like I said, you got to have it in a cool place. One time I left it in my kitchen, just thought, I'll leave it in my kitchen. Yeah, 4 days later it was all moldy.
Less
And so I
than
throw
70 degrees, easy, like 60 degrees or keep it cool, yeah? But
No, no, no.
oh, now it doesn't.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it juices more as the cabbage ferments. I mean, the older it gets, the better. That's why late flathead is good, a good cabbage for making sauerkraut because it's a heavy. But when you have late flathead cabbage, it's so light in weight when it's young. So the longer it can stay out, the better it is. Yes. You know what? I put like in that big 5-gallon one, I never put over a cup of salt in that because you can always add salt to sauerkraut. You could never take it out. You know, and you don't want it too salty, but some varieties are sweeter than others. Any other questions? Yes. You know, some people prefer to put it straight in the jars, and I've never tried that. They put it in the jar and pack it in the jars. And then they said that they put the lid on loosely and turn it upside down for 10 days. Now, I've never tried that because after I go through all this work, I don't want it to not turn out. So, but I have customers that say they don't have a crock either and they stuff it in the jars. But when you pack the jars, you pack it really tight, you know, as tight as you can get it. I use my fingers and pack it in there, and then there's a little bit of juice in there, and then put that lid on. And they said that they take the lid off. I mean, they put the ring on loose. They put the lid and then the ring, and then they turn it on and tip it upside down every other day for 10 days. And then they said that I don't know how this works, but anyway, this was somebody from up by Carrington that told me that. And then they seal it really tight. Well, they clean it off because then they put it in the hot water bath. And I said that's the way they make theirs all the time. And they leave it set in the kitchen. So I can't say how that's going to work. I don't know. I recommend a hot water bath. You know, 20 minutes for pints and 30 minutes for quarts.